No one builds wealth through diversification. And literally when you boil it down, you're like, okay, like I'm going to get more involved in things I know less about. Like every bet you get from your main bet is a deviation from how much you know about the main thing. And how much do you know about Amazon stock? Are you really reading the 10K every year and the quarterly and the minutes and going to the calls and like you know nothing about these things. And you're going to put your life savings into these things.
Yep.
And so Bitcoin finally gives you this thing where like I could stop arguing at the parties about everything, even national politics. Like fuck it. Like I don't have to get involved at all at any national politics conversations with anyone I don't want to, because I now have this tool that defends me against enough of it.
Right.
Right. And like maybe I had to vote with my feet and I moved from Illinois to Florida, right, to change some things around me. But like Bitcoin was a big part of that journey. I'd like to think I would do it without Bitcoin, but like, you know, it's a financial tool.
Yeah, it's fuck you money.
Right. And it's so all of a sudden like you have this thing where like no one can argue with you. Like it's not debatable. And that empowers you to go back to all those other things that you put to the side and said like, remember when I was 5 years old and I was like, hey dad, those clouds look weird. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, that's what planes do. And you're like, no, I don't think planes, and like, shut up. And then like 40 years later, you're like, no, like I was right. Like
I was right.
You know,
exactly.
And I was like, oh, like remember when like I was like questioning like food in my 20s, and I became a fucking vegetarian or pescatarian for 9 years. Like why was I looking at sort of the machination and industrialization of food? And you know, I might have went down some wrong rabbit holes, but I was still trying to figure out like what I should be doing better.
Right.
And I was still finding that, and I couldn't find any truth there until like Bitcoin.
Do you think that's like just the curious mindset that got people into Bitcoin earlier?
I think that's all it is Truthseekers.
Truthseekers.
And then not just Truthseekers, but having the humility to admit you're wrong about all the things you hold dear and dear.
And change your mind.
Right.
The willingness
to change your mind. So there are a lot of people that might be Truthseekers that like are a little too arrogant because they believe in the truth they already hold.
Yes.
And that's where the humility thing comes in.
Right. That's why I love what you said earlier, you know, strong beliefs held lightly.
Right.
Because
which I got from Mark Yusko, I think.
If you're not able to change your mind quickly in the face of new information,
right, because I know
then you're just fooling yourself.
Right, I know everything I'm thinking about. I'm lacking a lot of information. I'm trying to gather as much as I can. I'm going to spend more time on the things that I need to know more about. But even Bitcoin, like I know nothing about Bitcoin in terms of like knowing everything.
That's right.
Right, and so like there's always so much more to learn. Now there's other subjects I know nothing about that I don't feel the desire or the necessity maybe.
So how did as an accountant, what clicked for you with Bitcoin when you first found out about it? Was it your accounting background that cued you in, or was
I definitely think that was part of it. I mean, I was drawn to like Pierre Richard, Stéphane Levere, Robert Breedlove. I mean, these are all former accountants. Yeah. But I was like, and it's running the numbers. I think when I started hearing about it as a ledger, I think one of the things I fell down wrongly into was like triple ledger accounting and what.
Why do you say that was wrong?
At the time, because I think that made blockchain more than it was in the technology. So, because it made it sound more applicable to other things outside of money and this one thing.
Gotcha.
Right. So it's sort of like a red herring at the time. Maybe that'll come back into play in a different way. But so yeah, I definitely think it was accounting. It was this ledger. It could run the numbers. Like I said, like you can't. The numbers are what they are, and you can't change. Like no, there's 42 million coins. No, there aren't, bro. Or whatever you want to like think about how you calculate money or total market value, like how you use unit of account. So that's really like fundamentally change as an account. Very important though, because like you know you're already used to converting things from different currencies into this currency. So I never really thought about currency as something as a store of value or to invest in. I think that's why I missed Bitcoin early on.
Yeah, gotcha.
Right. Like I didn't need black market money. I thought that was cool for people who need, even if it was white market money, like whatever they were buying with. I thought that was cool. They had currency and rails, but I didn't know it was something you could store money in. I never went, oh, I'm going to scale into the yen over the next 3 years because I really feel like Japan's got great central banking policy. And as a 23-year-old accountant at Ernst & Young, like I'm going to take my $4,000 in disposable income and go hard into currency. And I wasn't going to, you know, with limited investable income or savings, I wasn't looking at more esoteric plays like options. And, you know, I was like, let's just stick to the basics until I grow some wealth, right? But Bitcoin, yeah, I mean, really as a ledger from an accounting perspective, sure. One of the other things that really drew me though was sort of like that, truth seeking, but sort of that really the toxicity of Bitcoiners. And when they would say things that sounded that like you could prove it right or false or right or wrong. So they would say things like there will only be 21 million Bitcoin and everything will be divisible. So I'd have to learn, what does that mean? And can I argue that? And kind of refute what they're saying. And I found out I just couldn't, like what they said sounded like I would love to fight with these people online and prove them wrong. This sounds retarded.
Max Kaiser's awesome at that, right? Like he'll dump truth bombs on you and you're like,
and as a Bitcoiner,
and you have to go test it.
Right. So you're like, I'm going to test that out. And I would be like, I kept coming up to like that. I can't get to a place where I'm like, that sounds like I can get to where they're wrong.
Right.
Right. So then when they would say things that were very like, well, Bitcoin's going to the moon, Bitcoin's going to 1 million a coin or 10 million a coin. Well, all these other things were proving out to be right. So it seemed like just from like I know what drew me in the beginning. I was like fighting inflation, and I was like, this seems like I'm not a speculative person. That's what's really, when I talk to people about Bitcoin, they think sound like a speculator.
Right.
And I'm moving to Bitcoin, de-risk my life.
Right.
And but back then I was looking at it as speculative, and I was like, wow, like maybe if I put a small amount of money in this, the way they're sounding, like maybe this thing is going to 1 million this cycle. And they started learning about this after that, the crash, because I got into Bitcoin like November 2nd, 2017.
Ooh.
It went down, and I did better with shit coins for those first 6 weeks.
Sure.
But then you crash and you go from genius to idiot. And you're like, do I sell it all and go back to fiat, or do I stay in this thing? And do I stay in it and leave my position, or even increase my position and see this as an opportunity?
Yeah. I mean, I got started a little earlier than you, but I remember that's those same emotions, like, because it's like the money grew so exponentially fast, and then give it all back in 18 and 19.
Right.
You feel like an idiot. Eventually the price went below my initial.
Am I still excited about this thing? Do I still want to learn about this thing?
Right.
Do I want to pull all my money from this thing?
Below my initial purchase prices.
Right.
So I was
way below my
sitting on a negative bag.
Yeah.
And, but you have all those questions. It's like, was I wrong? Because I was, I believed strongly
how much
that
did I know? Did I know?
You
Was I ever right?
Right. You question everything.
Was I right? Now we're wrong.
But I guess that's like you said, though, that question, instead of just giving up, questioning got me to the point where it's like, oh my God, I just need to be buying as much as possible.
So you've heard Bitcoin is the new gold rush by now. As world leaders on all sides have endorsed it as the future of money, and now you're looking to get started, we'll show you how. It's actually easier than you think. First, go to your nearest Byte Federal ATM and turn your cash to coin. Byte Federal has over 1,200 locations around the country with the highest daily limits. Go to our website, bytefederal.com, to find the nearest ATM to you. Log in to any wallet, then create an account, deposit your US cash, and instantly convert it to Bitcoin. That's it. We are the only US manufacturer and operator in the Bitcoin ATM industry, and our US-based live customer service is second to none. Go on, give it a whirl, and don't get left behind. Click the link below.